Hi, my name is Kate from Read Learning Educational Services and Silver Moon Spelling Rules. Today, we're going to talk about syllable division rule number 2. Now, syllable division rule number 2 answers the question, what do we do when we have two consonants between our vowels, and how do we split up that word into its syllables? Let's take a look at the rule first, and then we'll practice the rule together. If you'd like to follow along, you can download and reference our visual guide for syllable division rules. This can be found by logging into your Silver Moon account and clicking on the Downloads tab on the left-hand side. The syllable division rule guide looks like this. Let's get started with syllable division rule number 2. Syllable division rule number 2 tells us if there are two consonants between our vowels, you're going to simply split them up or do the splits. In other words, send one consonant to the front of the word and the other to the back of the word, drawing the syllable division line between the two consonants. There is an exception to this rule, and we'll talk about that later. Let's look at the traditional way of splitting up these types of words. First, just as before, we're going to approach our words by dotting our vowels underneath. Now you can see that we already have a very nice visual landmark for our syllable division. Just as before, we'll ask our students to underline the consonants in between the two vowels. We notice that there are just two consonants there. So following syllable division rule number 2, we're going to split them in half, like this. From here, students should be able to notice that we have our vowels closed off in both syllables and can mark their vowels accordingly, marking the A short and the I short. Both are closed syllables. Our final step is to tap out and read the word syllable by syllable. Here we have nap, kin. Blend it together, napkin. You see, by using a visual and a tactile strategy paired with our auditory strategy, we can build in a multi-sensory experience to reading for our students. Let's try another one. Here's another word. So I would prompt my student to dot their vowels first. Then we can underline the vowels and see what's in between. Between my vowels, I see just two consonants. Following syllable division rule number 2, I'm going to do the splits, drawing a line right in between the M and the P, sending the M to the front and the P to the back of the word. Final step, and most important step, we're going to mark our diacritical markings above our vowels. The U is short because it's a closed syllable, and so is the E. Finally, we can read it. Trum, pet. Blend it together, trumpet. Now that felt pretty easy. And you may notice there are some exceptions to our rule. Next, we're going to discover those exceptions. Our first exception comes into play when we consider the case of digraphs and the QU letter combination. Now, you may remember that digraphs are a combination of two letters that make just one sound. For example, SH says sh, CK says k, and so forth. Let's take a look at a word that uses this pattern. You'll notice I've circled our exception, which says watch out for digraphs for the first part of the exception. The process remains the same. I'm going to dot my vowels first. Next, I'm going to draw a line connecting my vowels and highlighting the letters in between. You'll notice that the letters in between are a digraph. two letters representing one sound. Therefore, I'm going to treat it like it's just one letter in between. If you recall syllable division rule number 1, it tells us send one in between to the end of the word first. So we're going to try that. Then I'll mark my vowels. I notice the I is long and the E is short. Finally, I'll read the word. Tie, kit, tie kit, tie kit. That's not a real word. So I'll recall syllable division rule number 1 tells us what to do next. We'll follow the same process, but this time I'm going to send one in the middle to the front of the word. So I'll send it to the front like this, which will make the I short and the E short. Tick, et, ticket, ticket. Well, that's a real word. We've done it. So you see, when we're dealing with a digraph, we will treat it just as one sound or one letter in between, following syllable division rule number 1. Let's look at the second part of our exceptions, where it says R or L in the second position. I'll walk you through the steps of the process, but I want you to try it on your own as well. Let's start by dotting our vowels, underlining what's in between, and we notice that there are two letters in between. However, the letter R is in the second position of the word, right after the letter G. Whenever we're dealing with an R or an L, we call those rotten letters in the second position. That rotten letter will pull that second letter with it, sending both to the end of the word. Check it out. The G and the R will both go to the end of the word, forcing the E to be long and the second E to be short. Now I'm going to read my word. Regret, regret. Now that's a real word. Today, you've learned a lot about reading words that have two consonants between the vowels. I hope you've learned something about dividing these sorts of words. In our next video, we'll discuss what to do when we encounter words that have more than two syllables. Until then, I hope you have a great time and happy teaching.